Okay, just to recap something what we've done so far, because this will be give some, because we haven't had a session on last week. So just a small a speed walkthrough. Okay. So we understood what is a Node.js, and we understood what is a NPM and what is a NPX and all the stuff, right? And then we know what is a React. React is a view part in the MVC, right? So
Yeah.
that creates the view only. That means it doesn't support MVC pattern, as we know. And we had a sample example to see how the components and what is the component in a page, and what are the major things in the React. Already we are aware, like that uses a JSX, so that means it is a JavaScript based XML, and you can include HTML tags inside a JavaScript. That is what we call as a JSX. And we heard about what is a virtual DOM. It is a, it's equivalent copy of your actual DOM, but it is a lightweighted that is used for whenever any change in the any of the DOM, it compares it and updates only that part. So because of that, the performance is getting improved, and also it is a one-way binding, and you have a lot of extension. Extension for a debugging purpose and debugging all stuff. Debugging I didn't explain yet. I'll show you how to do that. And already we have seen this, and also I requested to install this developer React tools for to see whether the page is developed on React whenever you're visiting a page, or your page itself also, right? And then we have seen what is the component states and props. Components divided into two parts. One is a stateless and stateful. Stateless is a functional component which just receive some value from the parent component, right?
Yeah.
And then a component itself will have its own state that can spread some sort of props to child component, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, so this one I asked, maybe I don't know whether you guys had a time to do it, but I'll
No,
skip
I
it.
didn't get my time.
I'll
Yeah.
skip it
I
now.
will. Yeah.
I'll add it and I'll push it into my repo. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
cool.
Yes.
So as far as now we know React what is for. So generally it is for view part. Okay, but our job is majorly communicating with the server and updating the data and all the stuff, right? So when to do certain activity. Okay, so in React world, that is called side effects. So what is mean by side effect means, if you wanted to change behavior of the existing component, where you want to do. For example, imagine we have a load mask, right, in a Sencha.
Yeah.
After some point in time, we are getting a data, but till the time we are having a load mask, right? So there is a time we have to make a call to the server, then gets it, right? You remember when we have a method called renderer and after renderer, box ready and all the stuff. So we have a similar kind of a lifecycle methods available in React also. Okay. So they categorized into three parts. One is mounting phase, an updating phase, and unmounting phase. So this is the destroy phase as in the React, right? And this is phase like a box ready or after renderer. But this phase, I don't know where to relate, because this is something to do with state update or a prop change, whatever you call it, right?
Okay.
So do we have anything like that? So component changes, not we do anything have like that?
See, unmounting is nothing but the removing, right? Removing
Unmounting
it.
is a destroy. That's what I said, right? Destroy.
Yeah. So update.
Mounting is, as I said, like it exactly after renderer or a box ready. It exactly a box ready you can see. Not even a after renderer. It is a box ready.
Yeah.
Okay. But updating phase is just that you remember it uses the props and states to manage the UI, right? Whenever, for example, in a Flipkart, if you go add one item, it will show cart value as a one on the top right corner, right? If it add one more thing, it will become a two on that at a superscript, right?
Yeah.
So that means that cart is re-rendering, if you ask me, right?
Yeah.
So there is update is triggered for that, right? I don't see anything such thing like that in a Sencha world, like updating, because Sencha doesn't require that, right? Because
Resize is there, right?
uh, that is the event listeners, right?
Okay.
See, generally mouse move, mouse on click, all the listeners. We are not talking about listeners, life cycles, right? See, when you say a life
We
cycle,
have update also.
uh,
Update. Na, see, updating is
yeah, store, yeah,
making.
you can say store update, right? You could say.
Ama.
Yeah, so that's what, maybe just wanted to relate it because we can easily attach to it. So that's why. So you could think of that. Okay. So this is a mounting phase. So mounting phase will have a 4 different methods will be called. As we know, When you are in a class-based component, you have a constructor will be called first. Then there is something called get derived state from props, another method called render, and then there is a method called component did mount. Okay. I hope you aware of what is a constructor, and I hope you know what is a renderer, right?
Yeah. Mm.
And by that mean you understood what is a component did mount also. This is what our box ready.
Mm.
That means the DOM is spaced in the document object model, right?
Mm.
So if you see, they say don't cause side effects. That means don't make any Ajax request here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do sync state. Okay, so what is mean by do sync state? In the sense, for example, you are what do you say? You have a you are in. Okay, let me show you code itself, so you have a thought process on that. Okay, let me show you one component which I created for that matter. Let me show you a lifecycle component. Okay, this is my lifecycle component. Okay, this lifecycle component is used inside a app.js. You see, and so as you know, what is this import and all the stuff, because I've designed this component inside a components folder as a lifecycle folder and the lifecycle.js. So I'm importing it and I'm calling this, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is what we call in the React world. This is a props.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
this component receives the props. So inside, when it is a class-based component, you can use a this dot props to access the props, right? If it is a functional-based component, you can access the props from the argument itself. It's a function parameter, right? If you see, if you say props here, it is a props. So list of keyword values. This will be like that, right? So now, if you see, I have a state. I declared a state here with the what do you call date, right? And also, while initializing, I'm also passing a date. But there may be a need for that because I don't want to use this date which is generated by this component. I mean, this class one. I wanted to use what I'm passing.
Yeah.
Right. So that time, how do you sync the state? I mean, the props value. So end of the day, when you say state also, it's a one kind of a props only for us, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to change your actual state value into something, because if you do a set state, what will happen? It will re-render, right? If you remember what is a set state?
Yeah.
Set state is for making a side effect. So generally, whenever someone says side effect, it just calls a re-rendering. If you want to component to re-render, that's what when you add a one item to a cart, it will show one, right? But when you add another one, it has to re-render to become a two. Without that, how it does, right? So we have to do that. So in order to do that, we either use a set state to make sure there is a change. It's something has happened. Let's say you can say this is a cart is 0 initially, right? And when you say set state of cart value with the 1, it will again re-renders this. You understood, right? What I'm saying?
Yeah, answer.
So we don't want to do a re-rendering while component is initialized. So in order to manipulate, I mean, sync your new value into your state value, you use a get state from get derived state from props. Okay. So if you see, it is invoked before a mounted component receives a new props. So this get called before it mounted, right? But you should return some value, or else you have to return a default null.
Okay.
So that should be written well. Okay.
Okay.
So I think so. That's why I've said that set up a state, because that's what we do, right, in a constructor. Don't cause side effect means what? Don't make any Ajax call or don't do anything. Generally, side effects you say re-rendering anything as such. But also they majority talk about side effect as a Ajax call.
Okay, and so you're not supposed to make any Ajax call using the constructor phase, right?
You should not do that.
You should not do, or it is recommended not to do.
See, that is what that is what is shown as do and don't.
Okay.
In constructor, you can set a state, but you should not make any side effect. In get derived state from props,
Will the React not allow it, or is it like a best practice not to do it?
if you do also, it won't happen nothing. See, for example, that leads to a confusion. Actually, React won't accept it if you say that way. See, what is the purpose of your Ajax call? You tell me.
To get some data, right?
right?
Hmm.
Without the DOM is ready, you make some adjust call. The adjust call is successfully in a second. By the
So
time DOM gets loaded,
see, what if I want to see? You said I can set some props, right? What if my props are coming from a server, from a Ajax call? In that case, I can make an Ajax call and set the properties there, right?
everything you can do that will re-render, right? By default, you have a default props. I'll tell you that and all.
Yeah.
See, generally practice is whenever you are writing a component, right?
Hmm.
There you also have to write a default props. That will be like your lifecycle dot default props.
Mm-hmm.
You have to write like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can say some props you are using, right? Let's say date, right?
Mm.
For example, that is a props, not a state, right?
Mm.
So you can set some empty value, or you can say some new date.
Okay.
Right. When your component is ready and makes Ajax call, you get a new props, it automatically re-renders, right?
Mm.
You understood, right? So
See,
you can have
now
a
listen. See, re-render will happen only when you set a state, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So when if I get some props from an Ajax and update the props, what is wrong?
See, wait. See, first of all, you have to have a mindset that not all the components are class based, not all the components are props based. I mean, the functional based, right?
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
You could imagine a component is composed of more than one, but out of it, one may be a class based, right?
Mm.
All will be what? All will be what? All will be functional,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So you will have states and props with the default values. So that means, let's say loading also, no skeleton also you say. What is that skeleton? That skeleton is waiting for something to get some data from the server, right?
Mm.
So by the time the child components waiting for receive some props, by default you have a props. Let's say I'll take this. Here I'll say something loading, right?
Yeah.
This field. After some point, I'll get the data from server, then I'll change the date. If you say that way, right? That's what your point, right?
Mm.
So in order to say loading, right? That is what a default props.
Okay.
But the question is when to make a Ajax call, right?
Mm. Yeah.
You cannot make Ajax call in the constructor. That is the first most thing, right? That's what a React says.
Mm.
So you have a certain ways of achieving certain things that happen certain ways,
Okay.
right? So
Mm.
constructor is meant for only creating or instantiating a new instance of the particular component class and creating a state. That's it,
Okay.
right? And then what the get derived state from props tells that if you don't want to use the state value which is same as the props coming from the parent one, because the nesting can be any order. Class I have a class will have a functional anything, right?
Mm.
But sometimes if you don't want to sync up with what is there in a state, you want to sync up with what is there from the props, you can do it using get derived state from props. Okay.
Okay.
And in any 100 attempts, this not even used in one attempt. Okay, this method
Mm-hmm.
very rare. I never seen.
Yeah.
Okay, this is for reading purpose only.
Right.
Okay.
So usually
So
when you define a class, you define its default constructors, right? So there won't be usually a necessary value to.
but we don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like Sencha has given 100 methods, but we are not using all the 100, right?
Yes.
The 100 one maybe will be used when there is a need.
Mm.
They provided a placeholder as a lifecycle hook, what you call as a lifecycle method, and you can do this one also, because some or other time you will say, should I rely on this? What if I wanted to use the the value from the props to be as a state value instead of the class owned the state value, right?
Mm.
So that you can do it using this. You understood what I said?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then, so as you know, always be what is a render? It prepares and structure your JSX code. That's it. There is nothing you will do in this
Yeah.
most of the time.
Mm.
So if you want something, you'll write a method, right? What you'll do, you'll write a method like what do you call it? Let's say const I am call me, right? You'll write like this arrow function. you will write like this, or you can say, what is that? Hello. What is this? What did it say? Component unexpected token. 1 second.
No, you cannot write this one, right? Arrow operator out inside that this one.
Not required. This is a, it have a implicit return statement, right?
Curly bracket.
Sorry.
Curly bracket is required.
Not required. See, that's what I'm saying. If you want to, this is some ESLint stuff, man. Don't worry. That is not an error in this. I'm using some ESLint, okay?
Okay.
That is not that. So either you can use like this, is still the error throws. You see, what is that? Call me unexpected token. Const call me my func. Okay, I think this is goes to this my func. Okay, I understand. Do you know what is that? This is a class base, right? It uses this one, this keyword. So you don't want to specify this keyword, right?
Yeah.
That is why if you see hello has come, right? So either you can write your JSX code inside a render method, or you can write a separate function to handle it, because as a practice of code writing, you will be avoid writing multiple same code in if else case, right? For example, I'll tell you the scenario. Sometimes you could imagine this is a one box and this is another box, okay? But some cases you don't need a left box itself. Do you require to render it? No need, right? See, what I'm saying is, let us imagine, simply I'm writing this now, okay? So we'll say, you always have to practice like this, write the wrapper. So let us imagine div, right? Let us imagine div. And then there is another div. You could imagine this is a legend, right? In your chart, your legend. This is, let's say this is a legend label. So imagine this comes left and that comes right, right? But what happens? This legend label itself a complete list of list items. So we know legend, right? Will come one below, one below like that.
Yeah.
No matter what, legend will be rendered for a chart, right? This may be required. You'll say group by, right? Or you'll say column by something. But sometimes if you are passing a props or a state value, say that I don't want to render this group by. You understood what I said? I want to only render the legend.
Okay.
So such cases, what you will do, you will be having one parent wrapper as a div like this, right? And you will render this conditionally. But if you render conditionally, this legend code will be kind of a list and you iterate it, right? No matter what, this code is supposed to execute for any case, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So you will be writing that in a separate function. That function you will be calling it some in both the places. So you can minimize a code efficiency, I mean code problem, right? So that's the case, you can do it. You understood, right, what I said?
Yeah, I understood.
Clear. Okay, so just ask me. So even if I get stuck, I'll do. Then now we come to a place called where to make a Ajax code and where to make a re-rendering component did mount triggers re-render. Okay, so this is a one place cause side effects, update state, why they are saying, but you can do it. So this is like a box ready, you could imagine, right? Okay, this one, I think why they are saying cause side effects. Yes, this will re-render that.
So anything you write there, again it will re-render, is it?
You do the set
obvious,
state,
obvious,
right?
obvious.
You do the set state, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, okay, first let us see how the things are happening. Okay, so we said 4 flows, right? First, I said a constructor will be called. get derived state will be called,
Yeah.
render will be called, and then
Mm.
component did mount will be called.
Okay.
Is it clear first?
Yeah. Yeah.
So because we have written a method to this is kind of listener for us, okay, in Sencha world.
Mm.
These are listeners. So this is
Yeah.
in which the sequence is getting executed. Constructor will be called and get derived state from props will be called, and then your render method will be called. Then once it is rendered into DOM, immediately component did mount will be called, right?
Mm.
Then what we are doing, we are changing a date, set state we are calling. So what will happen now? So it has to update the component again, right?
Yes.
So what is the next step is should component update, okay?
Mhm.
But do you see after should component update, you could see by word reading this, there is something called component did update, right?
Okay. Did
No,
mount.
you see,
Ah,
you understood, right? The word what
Yeah.
they say.
Yeah.
So when there is a mount, there should be update, right?
Yeah.
But if you
This
see,
okay. This is after render, is it?
you cannot say after enter. This is like after a store has been changed. For example, you are updating a store and you want to prevent rendering it. You are
Ah.
suspending the rendering, right?
Ah.
Right. But
Yeah.
you cannot think like a suspending and then flushing out and re-rendering. It's not like that. So that is the way you can avoid the re-rendering. Okay. So before you understand, but don't relate with after render, like I would say. For example, there is someone is added to the cart and you don't want to update the cart.
Mm.
And but how do you do that first, right?
Mm.
There should be a way. For example, so far so now we are seeing only the minimal state. We are always having one object, one key, one array, something like that, right? We don't
Yeah.
have any nested object in it.
Mm.
So imagine you have a big object with one object inside another object like a nested one,
Mm.
and there is a deep comparison, shallow comparison, all that.
Okay.
So it never does the deep comparison. Okay, state update, when the state is updated, we are doing a state update, right?
Mm.
So when you do a state update, what it does, so there is a value has been changed. You refer the previous value and change, look at the new value and make the re-rendering again, right? That's what we are doing, right?
Yeah.
But as we say, it doesn't do the deep, deep comparison, do the shallow comparison. So how do you do that? So for example, you will say, I want to compare myself. So what you will do, you take the next props, right? You take the next state. So it will have two argument, props and state, because a component can receive props and state, right? All we know.
Mm.
So next props, if you see what is the next props, okay, okay, 1 second, because once you log it, you'll know. You see, there are two things that come, right?
Yeah. Next state
But
and
all are similar to the same time only because it happened in a fraction, right?
yeah.
This is the props, and sorry, this is the props and this is the state, right?
Mm.
There is no significance, but so what did I do? Should component update only I did. What is not logging it? Life cycle only come. Did I need a refresh? 1 second. Get derived state from props. Where did I console log it? Okay. Should component update life cycle. It looked like I updated right after this. So this is logging, right? So what I was telling is, if you change this false to true, you see this will become. You see, this method is called, another two methods are called after that, render, get snapshot before update, and component data update. See, what I was saying is, if you say false, false will prevent from re-rendering. You understood? You
Right.
see,
So
I said false.
basically, we are controlling whether the DOM should be rendered or not.
Yes, you are
Right.
controlling whether you want to update it or not.
So if I don't write it, what will happen? It will always render, right?
Yes. If you remove this,
Uh,
it always
so,
re-renders.
no, see, no, so if there is a state, if there is only if there is a state, change in the state, right? That React will take care of, right? So as you said, whenever there is a change in the state, okay, it will compare the shadow DOM with the original DOM, and then delta.
No, you
update.
don't have to go to the DOM now. You have to go to the state only.
You know,
So what I was saying is, it is very straightforward. You want to control the update. Where to control it?
no, if I don't, if a user doesn't control it, the React will control it, right?
That is there. There are methods are there. I'll
Okay.
tell you that. I mean, there is a component called pure component.
Mm.
You are using this one, right? I mean, React. You are extending React component. You see, remember? There is something called pure component. Pure component by itself take care of whether to re-render or not.
Okay.
So that handles shoot component update,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
So
So that should
because
be the default one, right? You should
sorry.
extend it from. So the good practice will be to extend it from pure component always instead of component.
No, that depends. That's what I'm saying, right? It depends.
Mhm.
See how that re-rendering happens in your component lifecycle. But nowadays, the good practice used a functional component everywhere.
It is okay. Functional component. Okay.
Because I'll tell you the life cycle also. There is a way to achieve all these life cycles.
Mhm.
But first, we have to understand this. Without we need this first.
Okay. Fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So I think I made it clear about what is the mounting part. So you people are clear, and then let us come to the. So as we say in updating states, also get direct state will be called. Then it will check for a get shoot component update. Then it will call render. There is something called get snapshot before update. Then finally it will call component did update. Okay. Okay. So we already know what does a get state from the props. That means we are reading from the parent one and updating syncing a state if it required. And then shoot component update will return the boolean whether to update it or not. You manually checking by yourself. And render is a JSX code we know. And okay, there is a new method called get snapshot before update. Okay. So this is something we all might have used in everywhere. For example, imagine this as a scroller, right?
Mm.
If you really remember, whenever you go to any page and come back, most of the page will take you to the particular place where you were there in that time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that is called scrolling place.
Mm.
Okay. So how do you capture that? So where do you capture what was my previous position before this is updated? Generally, in any site you go, generally, if you are seeing something and you wanted to add something, okay, suddenly it should not take you top,
Mm.
right?
Right.
It should stay back in the same place. Maybe it has to do some necessary changes here only, but there should not be any sleek or up scroll up or something like that, right? So you have to remember you are making some +1 here, then it has to show immediately +1 as a superscript, but it's not scroll you top. But in general behavior, it may scroll you up. But how do you remember where you are previously? Is that using the method called get snapshot before update. So this method likely used for last minute DOM optimization. I mean, you can save the scroll position or something like that, right? So then if you saving it, there is a way you can read this snapshot here. You see, component did mount will be called. Okay, so then you can take it from there, and then what is a component did update will have the argument. One second, what are the arguments in component did update? Component did update. It will have state and props only, previous state and previous props only. Okay, so component did update. Yeah, so this one, I'm just checking for only argument. Okay, there is nothing else. So this one will have something called two arguments, previous state and previous props, and that's get called. Okay, let's always log it. Previous props plus previous state, I guess. Previous state. So then we come to the final one called component will unmount. So let me put this also again. Component did update. So let me change it to true. So this is one component life cycle, right? So constructor get derived state, render, and component will, for some it's deleted, is it? Yeah. Okay. So constructor get derived state, render, did mount, and then again there is a state update. Then there is a gets derived state, should component updates, compares it and returns it true. Then render will be called. After the render will be called, it captures the snapshot before the updates called.
Okay.
Then update method will be called.
Okay.
So now where we can make a ajax request, right? Okay, let us do install one package called did I install Axios previously? No, right? Okay, so let us install Axios. Npm I Axios, because this is our Ajax package. But why we need this Axios now? We use a fetch actually. HTML fetch is there, right?
Yeah.
Fetch MSDN. Fetch API. We use a fetch API. Some example. Fetch. ஏன்னா URL இருக்கா டேட்டா ஃபெச் பண்ற மாதிரி
sample தெரியல.
some fetch ஏதோ ஒரு URL போய் டேட்டா கெட் பண்ற மாதிரி user.json இதெல்லாம் நான் காப்பி பண்ணி பேஸ்ட் பண்ணணுமா ஓபன் API endpoint swagger ஐயோ இது வேற ஒன்று weather stock சில சைட்லாம் பர்மிஷன் கேக்குது ஆத்தென்டிகேஷன் ஸ்டார்ட் யூசிங் த API அதான் பார்க்குறேன் ஐயோ price can you check any endpoint is available
Okay, just a minute.
That COVID something is there, no?
COVID I used it COVID data API
Yeah, I think that is one.
okay, so API domain tracking static metadata current values of a state. Okay, so let's take this. Okay, now what we do is we said we can use it inside component. So what we extract from here? Oh, it has a multiple data. Okay, so we have data now. Okay, so fetch JS API. Okay, so we'll copy this and paste it, right? What we'll do, we'll say some list, right? We'll keep it as an array as a state one. So then we go to component with mount, did mount. So we do this. So what is our API? This API. So we'll see whether this is works. So what we do, there was a problem, console out data, the development service refresh is necessary. Okay, I think I disconnected. So let me restart it again. Oh, Corsa.
Okay, it doesn't support, is it? Okay, wait. Maybe you'll have to. If it is open API, it should support, no?
OpenAPI supports இது சரி நான் ஒன்று பண்றேன் தற்சமயத்துக்கு let me save it into my
Your local one. Okay. Yeah, okay. They mentioned in the site they do not support CRS. Okay, that's right.
okay, no problem. what is that? Slash users documents. Document. Praveen Kumar. Slash users. CD. Slash users. Goodness, 1 second. Slash users. Praveen Kumar. Documents. What is that? Current.json. MV current.json ல இருந்து எங்க போனோம்? Users. Praveen Kumar. MySpace. First app. So I just kept it somewhere here, right? Current.json. Let's see whether that works. In promise. Why?
JSON.pass.
Yeah, just a minute. First of all, let's see whether it had come. You need to enable run this app. What is this?
Enable JavaScript. Okay.
There is a data at come. We'll see. There may be something to do with it is going to cache, is it? Response. What is this?
There's no response.
Is there any API you found? Huh?
Okay, just a minute. Why your locals are not working?
Locals are working, but I don't know why that error is coming here. Which
Response.json.
type basic. First of all,
Whether it will support the normal XML HTTP requests?
Sorry.
JavaScript request?
Yeah, that will support. That will support. But I wonder why crazy this one. Function respond. Look like there was a problem with the status code response, not equal to 200. Uncaught sent an unexpected token. Is it saved as a JSON or what? Okay, let us see this JSON first. This JSON is proper, is it?
Yeah, JSON is proper. No, wait. Can you try to format this? No.
Okay. This should be proper. One second. Okay, server run avula. Close panalo. First of all, நான் ரிலேட்டிவ் பாஸ் சரியா போடலையான்னு தெரியலையே, ஒரே நிமிஷம் இருங்க. But why it is simply saying இத போட்டா கூட வருமா? See, that's what you see. It is somehow, I don't know what it is. Just a minute. So where we are now? This should be the path, right?
Index.js எங்க இருக்கு அங்க போடு.
Read local JSON. React.
So direct request le podlama. Okay, see there.
ரெக்வயர்ஸ்ல போடலாம் தான், பட் நம்ம ஏன் ரெக்வயர்ஸ்ல போடணும் நான் பார்க்குறேன்.
You want to test Ajax?
I wanted to Ajax only.
Yeah. Get one.
What they saying?
Then there are two. Then responses, then data.
No. Now the thing is not that. So there is something they are doing. Some relative path only the problem. So let me try. No.
It says enable JavaScript. What does it mean?
அது எதுக்கு சொல்லுதுன்னு தெரியலையே. I don't know. Read this one you're saying. Fetch reading API.fire have இதெல்லாம் ரைட்டு தான், நம்மளும் இதை தான் பண்றோம். But the question is, where is that? எனக்கு இதெல்லாம் இப்பதான் நான் பார்க்கிறேன். Let me install Axios anyway.
So Axios is used for Ajax.
Axios is for Ajax. Mostly Axios தான் எல்லாரும் யூஸ் பண்ணாங்க.
So what is it there in Axios which is not there in Fetch? Like why do people prefer that?
There are plenty. See, you can set the base URL and all the stuff. You can create an instance. You can set the headers, global timeouts. It is like your Sencha EXT. I mean HTTP, Ajax.
Okay.
You can customize your own stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah, like that. So
okay, so Axios is used for Ajax.
Okay, so let us put this way. Okay, installed. Okay, let us import Axios. So let us see what comes out. Should I have to rerun that? இது ஒரு தந்திர. Ayyo, something had come. What is this data?
Mapbox.
Yeah, so you have some data here, right?
Yeah.
So it is only my data or what data? Washington DC. Okay, let us use this one. By the way, why that junk is not happening? Is it a current.json, right? Yeah, cool. It is saying not found. It is showing not found. Very good. The relative path கூட பாதி வார்த்தை போகும் போல. இன்னும் போல. Oh my goodness. இங்க இருக்கு SRC குள்ளே தானே இருக்குது.
It is outside SRC, right?
Let's see where it goes. No, it's not outside SRC. Yeah, it's outside SRC, but still one dot is enough, right? 404 found. Oh, iranga open API.
No, do one thing, put that into the public folder and index.html irukla anga podu.
Okay. Are you sure?
Put that into public folder where index.html is there. Okay.
எங்க நான் பேஸ்ட் பண்ணு.
கட் பண்ணிட்டு பேஸ்ட் பண்ணு.
Let me copy it anyway.
Okay, now yeah. Okay.
What a crap. Okay. Now, okay, so let us go there. What is that life cycle? So what we'll take, we'll render all this data. So once
Data
you
to the left.
have
That data. Yeah.
a response data, so all would have logged out already. So response data is what we want as a list, right?
Mm.
So let us set state of list. Just dot set state, right? So you see now set state is called, right? After that,
Mm.
what the amount is called. So now we use this dot state dot list to render something. So there are certain topics I didn't cover, like conditionally rendering all the stuff, right?
Mm.
See, you cannot simply use things like this dot state dot list, because it won't be proper. So it has to be wrapped in the curly. So any JavaScript statement should be wrapped inside a curly statement,
Right. Okay.
right?
Mm.
And then if it is there, what we do, we use this dot list, this dot state dot list. Then we have a map method. If it is not that, we'll return null statement. So when the map method will get the item, then we'll return a div for that. Div, let's say key is I dot id. You guys aware, right? Why we are passing id?
ID
Why we are
is
passing a key?
why we are passing a key.
Okay. Because React has to know which component to re-render when there is a change, right?
Okay.
See, this
So.
is kind of a list, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you. This one. Okay, so this one will say like this.
So the key has to be unique. It is
Definitely.
that object. Okay. It has.
Yeah.
It is like our item ID, right? In the
Yes,
in the
yes,
container.
yes.
Okay.
So now I have this. What I have to display? The state value. So what we display
Date.
what?
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Huh? Okay, positive test viral. ஏதோ ஒன்று display பண்ணுவோம். Again, I dot positive. See, majority of case என்ன பண்ணிருப்பாங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா, they would be using the destructuring.
Mm.
You see,
Mm.
all these have been added, right?
Mm. Right. Okay.
So that is the thing. So whenever you want to make an Ajax call, you will do, because sometimes you call a set state, right? Because you will have an empty list and you will be getting a data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is why we are doing it here. So why they are saying not to do, it misbehaves and accidentally it does something. It's like, what is the safest place to what, right? See, for example, get direct state from props just to sync your state from the props, right?
Mm.
And so that should be done here only. That cannot be done here like that,
Mm.
right? So
Okay.
then you know what is a should component update, and you know what is a component did update, and get snapshot before update and component will update. So that's all about the life cycle in terms of class based React component, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, if you want, you don't want, if you want to handle that in a real thing, if you want to use this one, you can also use, so you can get rid of should component update by yourself.
Okay.
So that React take cares by itself.
Mm.
You see that immediate fraction, right?
Yeah.
In this. That thing. Okay, so if you guys are very good now, so I can take you to the functional based component with the life cycle hooks.
Okay.
Is it first fine?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it clear? Okay.
Right, right. So there's unmounting is there, right?
Yeah, unmounting is there. Sometimes you may remove component and all the stuff
Okay. So
that will
okay.
happen.
So when for example, if a component is unmount, the states also get destroyed. No, right?
Everything.
Why?
State is an integral part of a component, right?
Okay, okay, right, right. Yeah, right. Sorry, yeah.
But there is
Yeah.
a way you can maintain a global store that is called Redux.
Mm.
See, currently we are maintaining state inside a class-based component, right?
Yeah.
And even you can maintain in a functional-based component also,
Okay.
because this particular thing like class-based and functional-based, when the React started evolving, they were keep improvising.
Mm.
So today we are in an era where we can use majority of component also functional-based, not a class-based.
Okay.
I mean, you don't need a class base at all. That's how the situation now. Even if you see, there are some properties you never see here, but you might see when you type React lifecycle in the web. So there is something called component will receive props. So this diagram, if you guys see, right, even in my PPT also added this diagram. If you see constructor, then get direct trace will be called. Then see they calling this one, right? So in mounting phase, as we say, render will be called. So render will spread across because it will called in both the phases, right?
Mm-hmm.
Updating phase also render will be called, and here also will be called. Then once the mounting phase complete, it called a component date mount.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so all your set state updating all the stuff, then it has to go in the updating phase, as we know. Then there comes the unmounting.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all about it. So any questions before we get into functional based
Mm.
from Sijo or Libin?
No, it's clear for me.
Okay, so go okay. Okay, so RFC functional based component. Okay, so now as we know, even this is also one component, right? So how to achieve that? React provides a something called hooks. So they are called life cycle hooks. So that is okay. So you can write any number of use effect. Okay, so I'll tell you the purpose of the
What do you mean by hooks?
hooks. Okay, so hooks means, see, in the class-based component you have a state, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, now there is a question comes to us: how do I use a state in my functional base? Because functional base, all we know is it does not maintain its own state. It's just a presentation component that can receive a props from the parent container, then present it accordingly, right?
Right.
But as a developer, the question comes, why can't? So how to achieve that here? So that is called answer is hooks. Hooks is a term used to say the various way you can achieve certain life cycle events, certain methods, and certain things. Whatever you're able to achieve in a class base, the same can be achieved in functional base. It's like a top level layer that can be functional components can use.
No, if that is the case, why can't we use class components? Why to? What is the use of using
Yeah,
conventional?
it's like a Sencha 1 to Sencha 8,
Uh-huh.
right? So that is why I say in a general thing, people will ask you which version of React you worked. So they'll start a question from there only, because this get direct state props is actually component will receive props. So there is a method, it is deprecated now. Component will receive props. Will receive props like this. This has been renamed into get direct state from props. But this word something meaningful than get direct state from props, right? Component will receive props.
Mm.
So this has been changed. So the time goes by, the versions has been changed, things has been introduced, hooks has been introduced, and all the stuff. Hooks, I think it is introduced in 16 point something. Hooks introduction.
No,
Hooks.
I understood why hooks. I mean, why it's evolving definitely,
Hmm.
but see, why is the need of hooks when we can use class-based components?
So that question I have to see why we need the hooks when there is a class based.
Okay, yeah. Maybe we can find out.
No, so thing is,
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you now. Okay. So whatever I know, I can justify that. Maybe
Okay.
something I'll read and come back. Okay.
Okay.
Now imagine you are listening to different events for different life cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Component will mount, component will mount, and all the stuff.
Okay.
So okay, this use effect is a life cycle event. What basically it does is, so before that, let me take one something called use state. This is also another hook you can specify, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do is you can say counter. Let's say let counter. I think I can use this in the counter app. Counter, I'm using this one only.
Uh, Functional components, can you use this? No, right?
Functional component.
Functional components does not have this, right?
Which one?
Functional components cannot have this property, right?
Yeah,
It does not have this. Yeah. Okay.
there is no this keyword.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
use
it's
the props as a props.
okay.
Okay, so okay, let us see. Let's say something called counter. This one, there is something called set counter. This is how we write when you use a use state.
Mm.
In use state, you can pass anything to it. Use state. You can pass an empty string. You can pass an array. You can pass a boolean.
Mm.
You can pass a number. If you see the use state, it returns two things. One is initial state, and another one is a callback function. Okay. When you
Okay.
use the use state, it returns two values. One is the initial state, another one is a method for updating a state. So we are just destructuring this.
Okay.
So it will be like an array, a return value will be an array of initial state and then update state, set state. You understood, right? What I said?
Mm.
So this method returns that. So we are destructuring, we are saving it into this. Now let us do one thing. We'll add one button here, right? And we'll say button value counter, because we are using JSX. We use a counter here, and we'll say on click, and we'll say what we'll say again. We'll write on JSX. Again, we'll write this. Then we'll say set counter, then counter plus one, right?
Mm.
So then we'll use this lifecycle func somewhere in the app.js. Port lifecycle func. Okay, lifecycle func. Will it works? It's working.
Mm.
Okay. So now, as we say lifecycle, we want to execute function at least once, right? When the component is mounted.
Mm.
That is, you see, when I typed a use effect, everything came to me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is called cleanup, what they call. This is called unmounting phase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is called the state change it requires to listen. This is okay. Then I'll call this is console log. Console log. This one I am called. It may not be clear, but I'll tell you. Let me open the console. See, this is called once I'm called.
Mm.
You guys see, right?
Yeah.
Let me type. I'm called, I'm called, I'm called, I'm called, I'm called, I'm called. Right.
Mm.
But what if you notice? Let me remove this. Now it is called once. It is not calling.
Mm.
Do you see what happens now? This is the behavior of component did mount.
If you are returning it there, okay.
If you are returning empty array, this empty array is that it looks for change made in this state variable or a props. It is not like your state only. It can be
That's a
also
reducer, right? That's a
huh?
reducer. That's the reducer, right?
Yeah.
This is a
That
reducer.
that's kind of. Okay, let me mark this a counter. I'll say I'm mounted. So this is why you need a box ready and all the stuff, right? This is mounted, but now mounted won't be called. You see, right? So with this use effect, like this use effect, you can pass any number of things, right? Let's say const something called. Okay, you could imagine you can pass the one more. Let's say counter text, then set counter text. This is not like you have to use set word and all. This is for a convenience. There is nothing called we have to use this. So you can pass this one as well as a multiple array. So now what happens? It will even re-render for another one change also. So this is how you can achieve the life cycle what you achieve in the class base. So this is unmounting. This is did mount. When you pass an array, it will call for this one. So the hooks is a separate concept. Okay, so hooks has a lot of things: use state, use reducer, use callback, so many things. Because it generally, whenever you watch tutorials or something, they first cover the life cycle. Because the majority of the cases, what we basically do is we write code. We most of the cases we interact with the DBs or API queries and all the stuff, right? So we majorly interested in getting the data from somewhere as a dynamic one and render the table, render the data and all the stuff. So before rendering, we have to know whether it is presented. To be precisely to tell one sample case, what I could say is, you guys having a PC chart, right? PC chart need a placeholder, right?
Yes.
In order to, you have to calculate with the height out of the placeholder, right? Without it is mounted in the DOM, you cannot calculate offset width, or client data, client width, right?
Yes.
That you can do it here. So that means the actual core logic for the component will write either inside a use effect or inside a component mount. So rest of the cases maybe to update the behavior 1, 2, 3, or a scroll state or update state or something like that. But this is how the life cycle works in the class and React. So this will be one of the questionnaires, or maybe we are practicing. If you see any GitHub repository, I would request to see GitHub repository all the time whenever you are working with this one, life cycle. Generally, simply you have to search for a life cycle, RX life cycle. There are so many things: real life cycle, Android life cycle, React. You type it, you search it. React visualize compat. They React. Oh, so they have this is a React one. Don't go for this. We don't understand it. Component lifecycle deep dive. See component what they do. So they are having a navigation and page component. So what is a navigation component? There is nothing. It's just a presentation. And then workflow. See constructor get derived state did mount, and then a fifth this one, and snapshot did update will mount. That's all. So this is why I'm showing is, if you see a GitHub repository something, or you like to, you will immediately encounter this one or other.
Okay.
because majority of our case is to, just to deal with the getting the data and re-render the UI and all the stuff, right? So this gives some startup where you can create an application, you can design it. See, I would tell you, our job is not with the JavaScript, because I would say we are expert in JavaScript, okay? Because in Pointers, we are highly working on a JavaScript, okay? I think Shijo has a better exposure on a CSS part, but I myself felt shame on me while getting into React. I was not able to place this up properly.
Yeah, that is all the most of the EXTJS developers have that issue.
Right. So if you guys are really wanted and thirst about eagerly wanted to be a React developer or non-Sencha developer, learn the CSS.
CSS and HTML also, right? Yeah, basic
HTML is
HTML.
fine. HTML is fine. You borrow somewhere HTML,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right.
Because now I would request to use the flex and grid only. Now most of the layouts today using a flex and grid only. Even I think this site also might be used as a flex and grid. Chrome has a super support for this one. See this, right? You guys see?
Yeah.
So now all the sites are moving towards a flex and grid layout. So take some time, understand and try out on your own time how a flex works.
Okay.
So flex is a one direction, either row or a column. You can stack the element, you can space the element. See, you remember in Sencha, we give that arrow symbol to space this to the right corner.
Yeah.
This is easily can be done in this one. Flex layout. You could imagine this is one div element, right? This is one div. I think this is one div, right? Another one is another div, other div, other div. Actually, we know our components are block components. It render one below another, right? Like this, like this, like this. Next, next, next,
So,
next.
so Flex is a CSS3 standard, or is it a separate library or something like that?
No, no. Flex is a CSS standard.
Okay.
See, it is a super one, okay? Whether you continue, I would request maybe you guys have exposure on this. There is something called grid layout, but it is quite a complex, but it is super one. See, I'll tell you one super advantage of this one. You write this component, for example, let me take some empty file. You write this like this, okay? One div, another div, multiple divs you write. One second, let me create an HTML file. Okay, somewhere not here. I'll create something called test.html so that I will have my HTML code running. Okay, div for the div into 5 kodava. Or show. See, for example, we'll skip this one. Div dot container. So let me create a container. Okay, then I'll create div into 5. So that would be easy for me. Div into 5. Oh, that become a class. I think I have to multiply by 5. So let's say 1, let's say 2, let's say 3, let's say 4, let's say 5. Okay, so how to access this? Test.html. That works. I think that won't work because it will show, it won't render that.
Again, put that into a public folder. See. Put that HTML into a public folder. I think that is what the local server points to, I think.
Okay, perfect. Now, as we know, HTML is a block. I mean, certain elements are block elements, so that equally occupies the block, right? One next to one next to. So let's put this as a flex element, display flex.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you guys see it automatically arranged. Okay, so now what we can do is there is something called justify content. There is something called space around.
Mm.
You see
Mm.
what happens?
It's placed equal distance. Okay.
So it is aligned properly,
Mm.
right? So now no calculation, nothing. This pixel or nothing, right? And you go here, you say flex, you say 3. If you say this as a flex 1, this occupies the full space, then everything gone to right now, right? And again you come back here, you will say again flex 1. So these two people will occupy. Okay. So there is plenty of things, but only thing I would say, this is like one way, either this or that. So there is something called align item center that we already seen, right? Aligning item to center. See, with this is like a feature with the Chrome comes with. You can do anything with this. All the properties you can play with it. You can assign it. If you remove this from each of this component level, okay. Okay, I'll tell you one more super stuff. Let us think of move this 5 to 1. What we do basically, we come and change the code, right? Here you go and say order equal to, you say 1. It has to go. Is it a flex? Is it going? Flex order. Order 5. Why it's not going? Just to be content because of flex rack. Why order is not going? Flex order. There is something called flex order. What you do basically, you can shift the things. I mean, you can reverse it. This.
Okay.
I mean, you are ABC, right? You can make it a CBA. Like that also you can do all with the CSS. So row reverse, column reverse, and all the stuff. But why the hell I'm not getting this box flex?
Flex direction is equal
Yeah,
to.
but flex direction is row is fine. This is nothing. Or they want a flex direction, but by default there should be a direction, right?
Not there.
No, that is not required. Flex direction is nothing but whether you have to go by column or go by row. If you see column, that will come like this. If you see row, it will come to the left to right.
Row reverse is there, no? What is it?
No, I don't want to do that. I mean to say, I want to shift number, let's say number 4 to first position. That's what I thought of doing, but it is not happening. Order 1, it's not happening. Why? That's how they do. You see, right? They're setting you have to set order for everything. Yeah. So that's good. So then order 1, let me keep this is order 2. Let's keep this is order 3. Why like that? I wonder. It is changing, you see.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm saying is, it's not like today you designed a web page like this, tomorrow you wanted to shift the things. Somebody say, I want a search button to be right side. You don't change the code, change the CSS. Super, right?
Yeah, we have these online keyboards and all now where the keys keep changing, swapping here and there.
This one, right? You have so many things. Chrome has a lot of things.
Yeah.
But learning React is very, very easy. Okay, it's not. It's today you may see like a complicated of, because it's a new thing to us.
Yeah, but once
Right.
you get it, yeah.
Once you get it, first you set your mindset. React is nothing. Okay, because when I started like a React, even I don't know much of React, but I can justify React is not a so big complicated one. The complicated one is in anywhere you say how you present it. It's about your thought process. Right? Even the small icon also attract a user.
Yeah.
Right? So as a UI developer, our job is mostly on a CSS part. So spend some time, especially with the grid layout. But grid layout, I tell you, grid layout, before you start, let's have some sort of thought in your mind. Since we already know, this is a column basis, another row basis, right? But if you see this thing, like a grid layout. Okay, you see this is taking some 70% and this is taking some 70%. You still can achieve this using flexbox, right? But you have to use two flexbox, right? One for the first row and second one for the second row. You can divide into that 70%, this divide into flex width, right? This is called flex width. You can say 70-30 and you say 50-50,
Right.
right? But what is the need? What if there is a layout way where you can have a single div wrapper and use a thing called, and you can align it this properly like this, that is called a grid. So instead of you say this as the flex, if you say this as a grid, and you can achieve this sizing and all this stuff. So that is, some half an hour read.
Okay.
So keep reading, keep trying out CSS part. So if you wanted to be use React in our project, in your project, so definitely having idea about all the CSS, especially layouting and positioning.
Yeah, layouting is
And
everything.
I never know this one until I did. Even still, I have a bit of confusion, but I know this. What the CSS properties? Static is
Yeah,
a
this
default
one like
property.
static, relative,
Static is a
relative.
default property that what you see today. Everything. These are statics, right? But this relative and absolute is like a binder together. When you want to use one, you have to another one, and you know what is a fix, you know what is sticky. So you need to know this, and you need to know the display property, inline block. So be expertise in a display as well as a position property. That is widely required.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. So because rest all we know what is a box model and all the stuff. And one more practice I tell you, whenever React developer starts the thing, right, they come up and add one CSS for at the root level, as they set as body box sizing equal to border box, margin equal to 0, padding equal to 0. Okay, before I save it, you guys watch the UI. I see I've saved it here. Let me save it in the this.html. Let I'm to create a style tag.
You can avoid that number.
You guys see what it happened?
Mm,
You did not notice it? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me remove it. You guys notice now? You see there is a space is gone.
Yeah, all right.
So any website someone develops, right, they add this property at the very beginning. So they wanted to completely occupy all the space from right to top to corner. So this is like a reset, browser reset, what we call.
Okay.
Because you need a border box just to avoid some content padding and margin related to that. You also have to read about this box sizing also. So box sizing, CSS layouts, and the position property.
And flex. Okay.
If we are expert in all these three, and the React life will be easier. Because as I have a confidence that we are good in JavaScript compared to all of this. But the React and Angular developers are good in CSS and HTML, and we are JavaScript.
We are poor in that, yes.
Right? So the place wherever we are less strong, so we'll improvise it. So I'll end the session today with this. So you guys can try by yourself, right? You can think of something, get the data from server and add it into a table, create a table as a one HTML. I mean, you understood, right? Create a let's say view table.jsx or table.js, pass the data from the Ajax call as a props or a state or whatever, right? You can think of doing something, some exercises.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So that's how you have a bit hands dirty on the life cycle. Okay. So watching and going like watching tutorial only. Okay, maybe you guys have sitting, everyone without hands-on. Even I was spending a lot of time reading, nothing worked out. But either you buy a tutorial, or if this is comfortable, you will follow along. That's also fine. I think Suraj, you have already Max Million tutorial, right?
We have in Udemy. We have. Yeah, we
Yeah,
have that.
Udemy one is
I've
updated
shared the.
now.
I have shared the account also. So I bought few more courses. One is Chrome Developer Tools, advanced course.
Mm-hmm.
How to effectively use Chrome development tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one I have bought, and Webpack 5 I have bought.
Okay, cool. So
So
you
I'll share
share with
the.
which is I will share my credentials. I
Yeah.
have a few courses, and let me see what I have. I'll share my credentials also. You
Yeah.
guys
Okay.
each buy something, okay? So
Yeah.
instead of buying all the things, because see, this may be useful,
Exactly.
showing
Yeah.
to the interviewer that you've done some courses, but that is of, I believe, that also you can do. If you are personally wanted to do some certification, buy on your own. This is something Arvind account I'm using. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so here Arvind has a React Angular junk here, and you have a node here. Okay,
Okay.
so React Angular node is here. If you guys want, I'll share the password. Don't tell Arvind. Even if you tell us, he won't do anything. Okay, so simply, and then I'll show what I have. Network has been changed, and then let me log in with mine. Okay, this is something. Okay, log in with a different account. Okay, so okay, I have certain things. Python, Django. I was explaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a Python, Django, Python. I have a GitHub. I have something, go to my learning. I'm planning to buy few. If you guys fund something, we can buy. And also I have a Vue.js.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
This is. Yeah.
So each one of you spare some time, because now it is on sale, 490 rupees. And I
Yeah.
have,
I got one, so I'll share what I have. Maybe you can have a look at it.
and also on the side note, plan to read about MERN, or I mean, one full stack with the JavaScript side you guys think of using.
Yeah. This is what I have.
What you have? Let me see. Yeah. Oh, this is my card. I'm not seeing your thing.
Yeah, this is sorry.
Sorry.
I can see the screen.
Yeah. Now I can see. Yeah. So you have this one. Ask Pointras to pay some money here.
Yeah, they'll spare if you charge. I mean, you can submit the bill then.
Yeah. So then you buy
The
so many
note,
things. No?
so I've got a note. So I have not started it. And for me, what's the most important thing is Excel. So I bought that. Teacher management reviews here.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So you guys do one thing. Okay, I'll send across few things. Okay, there is something called MERN and mean stack.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
also try to buy Angular, try to buy Django and Python related stuff.
I was thinking about Shijo once. We were in a meeting and Raja asked Shijo to do something on Excel.
Okay.
Shijo was taking help of his wife. "Eddie, இது என்னடா செய்யுது?" He didn't mute his mic.
Okay.
Raja, what is he doing there? You just move the column from this left to right. Do it, Shijo. What are you doing there?
Okay. Hey, and by the way, buy the Docker. Okay, Docker and Kubernetes.
It is okay.
Mean, I think Abhilash account has. I think I have his credential. I can share that.
You have the Kubernetes, Docker,
No.
Maximilian.
Mean.
Mean you have.
Yeah, Abhilash account has.
Okay. Because you have to learn a mean also for all of you. See,
One will be best, I think, because we are into React. Let's learn.
yeah. But yeah, mean is not required now. MERN I wanted, but let's see. But I would suggest also spend some time on YouTube. Lot of channels. Okay, they give some sort of initial mindset. So spread
Yeah, this is
across.
something which I found useful. You can start using it.
Yeah, definitely I'll do that.
You have to export Chrome developer tools. Especially, I mean, most of the things we know, but especially the performance, profiling, and Lighthouse, right? Those things, yeah, performance related. Other things, most of the elements, source, and all we know, most of the things. But the performance side, that is something, performance and profiling. So that's something I think we all should know. So just have a look at this.
Okay, that's better. That's why I said you to create. Okay, in this group, you're going to share this credential or separately.
Yeah, I'll share it in this group, whatever the React group we have.
Yeah, you share it. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope this was
Thanks for the session. It was wonderful today also.
okay. Nice. Thank you. I'll keep improvising because I'm not finding enough time to prepare myself. So it's like a
No,
last minute
that's fine.
preparation only.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I would request maybe you guys have to have hands on. Without your hands dirty, we can't do anything.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what we are planning. We have an app, as I said, we have a React app on which we have to work.
That's
in.
what.
Lot
So
of
I
also.
would ask you to follow a different step, right? Don't create a app by yourself or one on each one of you.
Yeah.
Create a GitHub account. You share the project to 2 different people or 4 different people,
Yeah.
and you create a ticket. You work like a GitHub level. Okay, so people will have hands-on on how GitHub works also. Creating a new branch, creating a
You can
new.
create one. We can start a collaboration project.
Okay, let me set up one startup project,
Yeah,
right?
start up, then we'll start building up from there.
So then I'll try to create a tickets for each one of you, what to do, what not to do.
Yeah.
So you guys,
Okay.
then we'll follow the new branch creation and the changes, then pushing it to all
So
that.
that means we need a session on GitHub also then.
Yeah, definitely. We need a session on GitHub also. If you already have a GitHub session, you can give to me because I'm getting into the GitHub slowly. I can also give, no problem. I'll prepare myself for a GitHub, but don't work in isolation, right? Work in coordination.
That's not happening because, as you know, like.
Yeah, I understand. I understand how Pointers works and all the stuff. You guys won't be finding all the time.
So
But
better collaboration is better. Like everybody will get.
yeah,
We can assign tasks also in that case.
see, I would tell you, okay, I'm not complaining Pointers and I'm not complaining my company or anything, okay. Anywhere we are always working, okay. They always pay you, but it is we ourselves have to show some interest on developing our skill set and spend some time.
Yeah.
I've read some sort of thing. We have a time to do this, but not this. We have time to watch a mobile, not this, right? Somehow we ourselves have to self-motivate ourselves and do something.
Actually,
So
this is a good start. Even now, we almost 2 hours spent. That's something good.
but
Otherwise,
that is a good start. It can happen over in the Zedomi tutorial also. But how it will be a good start is that you have to start writing code. You have to start understanding how things working.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If I show you how Flex works, it is one time, you 5 minutes you spent and I shown you something. Then tomorrow you'll forget it.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna make out of a Flex box? What are you gonna make out of a grid box? Right? So what I would say is, let us, we ourselves create a navigation component first by our thought. Right? It should be individual design.
Okay.
Okay, what I'm saying navigation, you guys understood?
Right.
So if I was showing some GitHub, right? GitHub top bar. See, you can use any number of HTML, any number of CSS, anything you can use, okay? But you come up with your own nav bar. This is a nav bar. So how you're going to componentize? There's going to be search bar. You're going to borrow into a separate, lend into a separate component. I don't know. You're going to have this as a one icon button. I don't know. You can have this as account settings button. I don't know, right? So you can think about a lot of nav bar design over the web. Maybe you can borrow some ideas, right? If you see images, you will have plenty of nav bars. You see? So you guys start thinking and put your effort starting from the nav bar, because in any application you go, there will be always navigation bar in a Senchar. That is what we call a toolbar, but in general world it is called a nav bar, right? So you start creating your own nav bar, maybe in your locally. Once we are done, we'll create a different nav bars in a one place. Then we'll try to use which one is best.
Yeah.
You can think of that. So your nav bar should be configurable that accepts a logo. Whether it says if there is a logo configuration, logo will be shown, right? If there is a title will be shown, right? Or else by default there should be a title and by default there should be a logo. That is like a branding, you say. Like Pointers as a Pointers logo and Pointers name, something like that, right? We have IGO or else Rodeo, like that, right? So you could start doing that. Maybe in future you can make IGO as a React app, or who knows?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Right? You start contributing it. Let's make some contract with Pointers.
IGO and React.
Okay. Okay, good. I got to leave. Maybe somewhere out. I have
Yeah,
a
thanks a
class.
lot. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for your
Thanks,
time.
Bob. Thank you, Praveen sir. Thank
No
you.
issues.
Yeah,
We'll
next.
keep make some best thing out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So share.